Bye guys!
It's mid-morning and we just arrived at Tiger Rock, sailing the short distance between the Zapatillas and here. We have heard a lot about this dive site being really amazing and rarely accessible due to rough surf, as it is completely exposed to the Atlantic Ocean. We drop anchor quite a ways away from the dive site where the bottom should be sandy, even though it is awfully deep.
Because this is the deepest that Curiosity has ever been anchored, we decide to do the dive in 2 groups so that someone can stay on the boat just in case the wind or surf picks up and the anchor begins to drag. Nikki and I will go together first, followed up by Jason and Justin. As Dan does not scuba dive, he will snorkel with me while Jason and Justin are exploring on their dive.
As soon as Dale, Jason, and Nikki are gone, Dan and I leap into our secret cookie and chip stashes and feast without judgment.
We aren't quite sure where the best place to start the dive is, and when we jump in the water and begin our descent, we have already drifted away from the wall. At around 50 feet deep and still no sight of the wall, we decide to ascend with a safety stop and surface swim rather than fight the current using up our air to get back to the wall and try again. Woohoo! Now we found it, and we're really excited. It looks like a pretty awesome wall already.
The wall is almost a perfect drop-off here and filled with cracks and tons of life. The visibility is good too, so this is going to be a great dive.
We noticed that there are a ton of lionfish here, and a lot of them are huge. No one must hunt them here as their numbers are ridiculous. Being an invasive species with no natural predators, we have tried to always hunt them whenever we find them since we have begun spearing a few months ago. This time, we have no spear, but I will remember where they are and come back with the spears after the dive when snorkeling with Dan. We have got to do our part at controlling the lionfish population. It doesn't hurt that it is one of the best tasting fish that we have eaten. All you have to do is not get pricked by any of its poisonous needles. To avoid this, we use scissors to remove the poisonous barbs, and then they're just like any other fish.
We always find the most interesting life living in cracks and crevices, and quite often here in Panama, hiding in the shadows, are these beautiful spotted drumfish that circle around their home, nervous of why you are watching.
Shut up and sit down.
We've been seeing these tiny fish everywhere that are called sharp-nosed puffers. They only grow to be about 2 to 3.5 inches long, and they are now one of Dale's favorites. We've been seeing them everywhere since our arrival into Panama. They are always super friendly and try to cuddle on your face and swim inside your rash guards. They will even swim inside your hand if you close it in a scoop.
Tiger Rock is actually 3 separate seamounts, and from what we read, the furthest one out is the best to dive, with the bottom laying between 110 feet to 150 feet deep, and the top being about 2 feet out of the water, having sheer walls and gentle slopes as well, all covered in coral. There have been numerous reports by divers of seeing large schools of sharks, and we are all hoping that we get to see some too. Being so far away from shore or any villages, we were shocked to see some locals fishing out at the same rock. They are awful good and free dive quite a ways down and managed to spear a fish right beside us. This time they speared a porkfish and I caught it on camera.
While not rushing our dives, we are trying to be quick, as we only have a limited time underwater. We are trying to get from the Zapatillas to Escudo de Veraguas before dark, while still having enough time for our pit stop here at Tiger Rock for our dives, as we simply cannot pass it up. We have heard from a few sources that it was one of the best dives that they have ever done. Part of the aura around it is its remoteness, hours away from civilization, on top of it being extremely rare that the seas are calm enough and cooperate to allow the dive and anchoring to be possible.
How was it, guys? You guys made it!
So cool. Why, thank you, sir.
Whoa. When we start our dive, we descend down the wall to the bottom of the seamount at 110 feet. Now that we have passed 100 feet, my dive computer, a Shearwater Paradox AI, now requires a 5-minute safety stop instead of 3. Me and Jason turn to swim around the seamount while slowly ascending to increase our no decompression limit time.
Water changes light quite a bit, causing you to lose more color the deeper that you go. The first color that you lose is red, which causes everything deep underwater to look blue and green, and darker as you descend, with more and more water between you and the sun absorbing some of its light. When you use a flashlight underwater, you reintroduce the rays of light, which then allows you to see the true colors of the aquatic life.
We just can't get over how many lionfish there are.
The boys see a few huge coral clinging crabs that are definitely the largest we have ever seen, and they look delicious, but we have to leave them here, even though their claws are bigger than my hand. If only we could hug them and swim them up to the surface.
We see a ton of small to medium-sized lobsters in a lot of the cracks that we are looking in, but they are safe from us today. It's always an amazing sight to see all these schools of fish that call home to the reef, darting together around the coral in unison, almost completely unconcerned with our presence while we are swimming with them, observing the diversity of life living all around us. While freediving and spearing, Dale and Dan got a bunch of lionfish, enough for us all to have a feast. Dan's first attempt at spearing was a success, as he got a few lionfish himself. The dive was amazing. We only wish we could dive it a few more times, to fully take in all its beauty. It wasn't until near the end of our dive that we began to see some amazing formations, on the exposed side at around 90 feet. They would have been so cool to explore, but would have pushed us into decompression, and we definitely want to avoid that and follow our training and be as safe as possible. After all, it was still an amazing 69-minute dive.
As soon as we get back to Curiosity, it's all hands on deck as we pull the anchor and lift the sails and are underway in just minutes, still with hopes of arriving at Escudo de Veraguas before dark so we can avoid any reefs and anchor safely.
This is going to be our second last sail on board SV Curiosity. It is sad, but the sail is great, with good winds.
We have wind for the last 5 miles.
Diving Tiger Rock was awesome, and we are all so glad that we took the time to stop at this special spot, and are glad that the weather and surf conditions cooperated to allow it to happen. Scuba diving is always an adventure and our favorite way to spend our time in the water. We sure are glad that the Winds decided to get their own dive compressor to make diving in remote spots like this possible. The weather has been so nice lately, and we get to enjoy a rare and beautiful sunset while we are sailing towards Escudo de Veraguas. You definitely get to enjoy the wonders of the sky a lot more while sailing through sunrises, sunsets, and beautiful starry nights.
This is definitely one of those spots that we wish we could dive 6 or 7 times to discover all that it has. It is sad to leave a spot like this with so much still unknown, but we really don't want to be caught out here, completely exposed if any weather were to develop. So sailing over to Escudo de Veraguas is the best thing to do, and from what we have heard from other sailors, as well as read online, it will be a magical place that is supposed to be beyond words. We are all very excited.
Thank you for watching! You can support us at patreon.com/DJsDives and find more great DJs Dives content.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already.
Give us the thumbs up and share with all your friends, and leave a comment down below to tell us what you think.
See you next week!